Hello everyone, welcome back to the OneTalk podcast. You're here with your host Ryan McCarthy. Today we are joined by Jesse Rippingale, also known as Ripp. Ripp is the founder of the Ripple Effect, which entails breathwork, masculine feminine work, love and connection. He's also an ice bath and breathwork leader. He's also the founder of the Warrior House Men's Retreat. And within this episode, we touch a lot on men's work, masculinity, and the challenges men face, masculinity plus building a healthy masculine, men stepping into their power, leadership, what is destroying men's minds, and we just touch on so many things that's going to offer a lot of value for the men watching this, but also the females watching this who have men in their lives. There's a lot to take away. There's a lot of insight and a lot of understanding and a lot of things you can implement into your life, but just overall, it's a great conversation to listen in on too. I had a lot of joy sitting in on it with Ripp as well and having that conversation, so I'm keen for you all to listen to it. But in other news, if you could please share the podcast around, it just helps in terms of getting this information and value out there to the world and reach a larger audience. If you could also leave the podcast a rating, that will mean so much as well. But without further ado, let's welcome Ripp.
Welcome, Ripp. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. I'm actually really fucking good.
Yeah.
Really excited to be back here.
It's good to have you back, brother. Like, saying really fucking good. What's the purpose behind that? Why is it?
Don't know. Life's been quite a wild ride lately, to be honest. Up and down, all the things, all the feelings, emotions. Like I've been crazy busy. Like the first half of the year was nuts, like non-stop between my construction business and Ripple Effect and doing all the stuff. And the last couple of weeks, I've had about three weeks off, and it's something so simple, but it was actually really difficult for me. That first week was like, I don't know, it was weird, man. I struggled so hard to do like not much at all, and started to get used to it. But it just like brought this sense of like, I really want to create that in my life a bit more, that space, that time to do things that I want to do and enjoy life, and not just be, 15-hour days working on 2 businesses, running a crew of people. So yeah, it's just like a lot of different things have come through for me over the last, multiple months.
Yeah.
But I think things are dropping in a little bit more now, getting a little bit more clarity. So yeah, I think that's why like I'm doing pretty good.
That's epic, man. Yeah. You feel like there's a lot of resistance there to begin with? Because I know like for men on a mission, even females too, but like if you're on a mission in life and you have that moment where you take a break, it can kind of feel like you have those thoughts that come up, like I'm not doing enough, I need to do more. What am I doing? A lot of self-doubt can come in, and you're like, your mind just runs like fucking wildfire. Like, was a lot of resistance that came in to begin with, and how did you overcome any of those thoughts or feelings?
100%. Yeah. I'm very much the like, got to keep moving, got to keep doing stuff, like fucking go. I don't really stop too much, and if I do, it's usually because I'm so cooked that I just need to do nothing. So yeah, that first week I was like, fuck, like, what do I do? I need to be doing something. The thought process that kept coming through is like, if I'm not doing something, then I become useless. As a man, as a person, as just a human being, like I'm very goal orientated, mission orientated. And then I had a few like little things around the house that I wanted to get done, but I found that I had so much time that I just didn't do them. Yeah. It was this strange, when I'm busy, I'll get more things done because I'm out of time, like the pressure.
Yeah.
But speaking on, you said, having a mission, I started back, went back to site like Friday, I think, and started doing that. In the last 2 days, I've had this thought come over me. I was excited to go back to work, because before I was so exhausted too that I was like, I need a break. Like the body, the mind, everything. I was just like, I'm cooked. Yeah. So now I'm like, had a rest, I'm like, I'm actually happy to go back. I'm excited. I'm keen. And I was thinking yesterday, I was like, mission, you know, I'm like, men need a mission. We need something to strive for. And this whole conversation of we are human beings, not human doings. Yes, it has merit and it has a point to some extent, but I think for men, like, we need to be doing stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and that doesn't mean 15, 20 hours a day doing shit, but like, we need to be doing things. We need to be progressing. We need to be moving forward. It's a very masculine thing to do. We're not just going to go dance through the daisy fields, you know, like that's not the masculine way. And having a task, a mission, something to accomplish, something to strive for, whether that's, you know, work, a fitness goal, a sport goal, like, you know, whatever it is, I think that we need something to achieve.
Yeah.
And that like, I was like, sweet, I'm back at work. I'm just doing this deck at the moment. I'm like, I feel good. Like, I got to get this deck done. I'm building things with my hands. And I'm like, yes, like, this feels really good for me again and refreshing.
It makes so much sense. Like, when I reflect back on my life, and I would say at the time when I was depressed and had really depressive episodes, that was all down to because I had nothing I was building towards. When I reflect back to those moments when I saw a psychologist and she told me I was depressed and I should take, you know, antidepressants. I know this is a hot topic, but and I said no. And then reflecting back on that time now, I'm like, I didn't have a job. I wasn't studying anything. I was just sitting around the house playing Xbox, eating shit food. And I'm like, the moment I started this journey of, you know, trying to give back to mental health and giving back to mindset and trying to help people, and helping people, should I say, depression just magically disappeared from my life.
Yeah.
That's because I started to implement a mission and I had a direction that's pushing me forward. And I feel like that can solve so many problems by a man just having the mission.
100%, man. Like you said, you know, sitting around doing nothing, eating shitty food, playing Xbox or whatever it may be. It's like, no fucking wonder you were depressed.
Yeah.
Like, what is the alternative? What would be the expected outcome in that situation? Like, what would one expect from that? Like, I'm fucking happy. I'm living my best life.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's like,
it makes sense to me of why you would feel shit in that environment. And then, like you said, you went in and, you know, you started studying and helping people and building, and you had a mission, right? Like, mission, like, this is a word that's come up for me quite a bit over the last little while. And it's like having a mission, having a purpose bigger than yourself and something to strive for, move towards and build physically or metaphorically or any other way. But yeah, like, having something to fucking do.
Yeah, literally. And I think what you said there too, like, having something bigger than yourself is key when it comes to that, because if we don't do anything that's bigger than ourselves, like, you can have goals that are more selfish and that's great. You know, like things like the gym and things like that could be more of a selfish goal. But having something you push towards that is bigger than yourself takes that pressure. Is it
selfish though?
No, I wouldn't say selfish. No, that's a good way to actually look at that.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm processing why that's not selfish and I want to come up with an answer. The reason why I don't think that's selfish now is because I feel like the reason you're doing it is you're doing it for yourself so you can become better, but the people around you are also benefiting from that as well. Because if you are doing the things that truly make you a better person, everyone around you is only going to receive the best version of you.
Definitely. Yeah. Like, you know, the gym, for instance, like you said, is like, how can, in a physical situation, how can you help your partner if you got attacked on the street if you're too weak to help yourself?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So going to the gym is like a byproduct of getting strong is looking good. And fuck yeah, like, let's do that. But, right? But, you know, if you're too weak to fend off anyone or to lift something up or to do anything, it's like, well, what use are you anyway in that realm?
Yeah.
You know, not saying that everyone has to go to the gym and get ripped and big and all that stuff, like, but I think everybody should, you know, using that word should, people don't like that word, but everyone should get to a certain level with themselves where they are strong to look after themselves and their people around them, their family, their friends, and you know, taking on that role.
Yeah, and I agree with especially going to the gym. I feel like, even though should is a tricky word, but I feel like people should not just go to the gym, but just do something to build their strength, fitness, and just well-being as well. Like, I feel like, especially in men, I think we should speak more to men, or I should in this moment, is that men feel the best when they're strong. You know, like when I'm at the gym, like I'll have a shit day and then I'm like, I don't want to go to the gym, convince myself to go to the gym anyway, no motivation to do it. Get into the work, I'll start lifting weights and I feel like a fucking silverback gorilla.
Yeah.
I feel on top of the world and I feel like I'm undefeatable. But I feel like everyone can experience that.
And you come out with more energy.
Yeah, you do, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, 100%.
More energy, more clarity, and you just feel like...
Just the discipline too. And what you said is like when you don't want to go and you go anyway, like that's the discipline piece that comes in, because there's so many times in life where there's things we don't want to do and we do them anyway, or a lot of the times there's shit that needs to get done, right? And we don't want to do it. We're like, I'm tired, it's cold outside, it's running. Man, I love running most in the dark when it's raining.
Yeah.
Because it's like no one else is doing this shit, you know. And I've talking honestly, I've been a bit slack with the running, and I'm trying to get back into it. Or I'm not trying, I am getting back into it. But it's like, yes, I went for a run in the rain the other morning. I'm like, motherfucker,
getting
after like all those people on the sunny days. Where are you?
I had a similar moment to that. Because I bought an ice bath for the house because I was like, I don't want to wait for events to do an ice bath. Like I need one in the house, like, because it just adds so much benefit to my well-being, like mentally, physically, overall. So I got an ice bath, filled it up, got it all frozen and everything, and I was like, I'm keen as to do it tomorrow morning. Woke up the next day, it's pitch black because like it's morning sunrise is happening, but it's just clouded with dark grey skies, pissing down rain. It was like 6 degrees. I was like, fuck, it's not sunny. And I was like, do it anyway. I was like, I sat there for about 5 minutes, like having that internal war with myself. But I eventually was like, what's with all this procrastination? Like I spent 5 minutes arguing with myself when I could have been in and out and dry by now. So I got in anyway and did it. But the satisfaction I had from doing it anyway, despite what the environment was, like the satisfaction, the reward from that was something I can't really even explain.
Yeah. When it's, you know, like you said, at events, you know, there's a bunch of people, you know, the ones we do, we have 70, 80, 100 people and it's sunny and everyone's high vibes and all that. And it's all like, everyone's there supporting each other, cheering, having a good time. When you got to get up in the dark, do it by yourself, everyone's in bed, warm bed, sleeping, it's the middle of winter here. You know, give it, Queensland winters aren't too bad, but, you know, it's like, that's when it becomes hard. That's when it's like, okay, now I got to push through. And speaking on the nighttime or early morning ice baths, I don't know if you saw like 2 weeks ago, I did this 14-hour overnight military experience.
Yeah, I saw some of the stories,
And I was pretty much wet and cold from 9 p.m. to about 8 a.m. And they were hosing us down, you know, pouring waters on us while we're doing all these crazy things. And at one part, we were crawling up and down this hill and they were getting hosed at the same time. And shout out to my buddy Keegan, who was one of the facilitators, was just pumping me in the side of the head with the hose for like 2 minutes while I'm doing push-ups or crawling or whatever we had to do. And then they're like, all right, in the ice. And I don't know the time, but it was about 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning maybe, and in an ice bath in the middle of the night. I was like, motherfucker, like, you know, that's the thing that I was dreading the whole time. And did it, got out, and I'm like, still alive, still going. You know, it's not as bad as you build it up to be in your head.
I think, like, I guarantee now reflecting back in that moment, I bet you're glad you just got in and did it anyway.
Yeah. Like I was not going to hesitate. There was a part of obviously, you know, not wanting to show that I was not going to. I wasn't keen on it with the experience that it was. But like, it's like, well, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to just say no and not go in there because it's going to be uncomfortable as fuck. Yeah. I was like, I'm getting in here regardless. Like, and I'm going to keep going. Like, it doesn't matter. That's the big thing. Do
you think that relates to the conquest of being able for men to be able to conquer? So I feel like having things that we can conquer despite the challenges in front of us. I feel like this is probably one of the key components to us feeling our true best selves is when we're on a conquest to conquer challenges and overcome adversity and overcome things and achieve goals. Like even things with like going into an ice bath, but conquering that thing, it gives us that same feeling of conquer.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. I think definitely as men, it's ingrained in us to conquer. You know, you look back in history and the big wars and, you know, like taking over other lands and all this sort of stuff is like that was the ultimate conquer. Like they were, you know, going to battle other lands, other countries, and the wars back then were nuts.
Yeah,
fighting with swords and spears.
Genghis Khan doing crazy
like
shit.
Exactly. Yeah. Genghis Khan had like such a vast, what would the word be, like his empire. You know, it's like, wow, and like what do we do now? You know, and that can be our conquer, is conquering the ice bath when we don't want to, conquering going to the gym when we don't want to. And, you know, it doesn't have to be conquering the world.
Yeah.
But it's setting these little goals or tasks for us to conquer as men, I think is super important.
Yeah.
You know, at whatever level and capacity that is for each person, it's going to be very different, you know. Some people's is like, oh, I'm going to go run 100K or 200K, or, you know, I'm going to like a fighting, for instance, you know. Yeah. And others, it's completely different. It could be just something, you know, simple like going up Mount Buer. You know, but it's everyone has their level of like achievement and something to conquer. And once you conquer it, then it allows you to see that you can do it, and then you set the bar higher.
Yeah, and I feel like it gives you freedom to an extent as well, like freedom of mind, because I feel like the things that stressed you out before that conquer no longer dictate your emotions and how you feel. Yeah. Because you've already battled that battle and you won. And it's like building layers and bricks on bricks. That's building a great foundation to eventually what will be the house or what will be who you are. But I think even then you're still building as well. And it's just finding these little things that you do conquer and build on over time. And I want to reflect back on when you had your 3 weeks off with work, talking about men, the mission, talking about having something to conquer, which is what you were before that 3 weeks, and you went to not doing as much in terms of conquering another mission. And how do you think it is between finding that balance? Because I know men, we feel like we want to conquer stuff, but as soon as we stop, it feels like we're not conquering stuff. But do you feel like we can conquer things in a different realm, in a different setting?
Yeah, it's a good one, because it was definitely difficult for me, just with the person I am and how my life is set up, with being busy so often and so much. And like you would just have to, I'm trying to think how to say it, but it's looking at different things to conquer. Like I went and, I cleaned the house one day and I tidied up the yard, and you know what? I felt awesome after that, because it's like I've been wanting to trim all the bushes back and do all that stuff for ages, but I was always busy and tired and all these different things, and I'd go to the gym instead, and whatever I would do instead of doing it, and it allowed me to do it. And I was like, yes, like that felt sick. Like now the yard's clean, and that's something so small or relatively small, but it made me feel like I conquered the yard,
Yeah, and I think it's like flipping the way we look at things, because like people can look at that as a chore, and when we hear the word chore, we instantly feel a negative reaction to it. We feel like, oh fuck, I don't want to do that. Like straight away we feel stressed. But we flip that to like, I'm going to conquer the yard. I'm going to conquer the housework. I'm going to do this, and it's something that will push motivation into you, but it'll give you a lot more energy to actually complete the things you need to do in life. Yeah,
and I think the biggest part is you said, like, I don't want to do it. The hardest part is the first step, always. So many times I'm like, oh, I don't want to go, or like, go back to a gym reference. It's like, I'm tired, I don't want to go to the gym. You go to the gym, you do 2 sets, you're like, motherfucker, I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger right now, let's go. Like, all this energy comes, all this stuff. You're like, it's the first step is always the hardest. And once you get past there, you find that you just keep going and keep going. And you're like, oh, I got sweet, let's smash that.
Yeah, and the best thing about it builds momentum as well. because this is a bit different, but I kind of relate in terms of momentum. Like when I became sober from drugs, the thing that kept me going was that I was sober for so long. And I was like, well, I've been doing it for this long. I'm not going to give up now. I think the same thing can relate with when we're on conquest, is that I've been on this momentum. I've been doing this good stuff for so long. In times where I feel doubt, I have more urge to do it anyway because the momentum's there. That's keeping me rolling.
Yeah, that's a good one. Definitely. Yeah, roll with the momentum.
Yeah,
like you said, like I've come this far, so why would I stop or go back? And what's this is a saying? I didn't come this far just to come this far.
yeah,
Yeah. I heard that a long time ago, and I was I really like that.
I like that a lot.
I didn't come this far just to come this far. So it's like, keep going. Where else can you go? You know, we've got a whole life ahead of us, and I'm finding the balance of. I'm working on finding the balance because I haven't found it yet for myself, but it's that going all the time non-stop where I have, you know, in a business sense where I have no, life, like no free time. And if I do, I'm just tired and exhausted and I don't really do anything anyway. So it's like, keep going, yes. But now I want to implement these little trips, little breaks. And, you know, like Ben and I, we go out in what we call a disconnect to reconnect now. So every now and then we'll hike out into the bush somewhere and do a wild camp, or last time we went up the beach with the trucks, and you just get away, you know, get away from the normal sort of life, the technology, all that stuff, and just disconnect so we can reconnect with ourselves and
tap back in.
Yeah, so implementing little things like that along the way. It's like, for myself, you know, with the construction, I'm looking to implement. It's like, say I build a house, it takes, you know, a few months, 3 months, 4 months. It's like, sweet, work hard, get that done, and then after that, take 2-3 weeks off, whatever the time frame is, and enjoy a little bit of time, and then, you know, book in the next job to start then. So it's like little mini vacations, little mini. I heard someone say it years ago, like, take little mini retirements. Yeah. So yeah, like, and that could be a week, you know, where it's like, all right, cool, I've just smashed this goal. Yeah. Now reward myself for working hard, achieving that, conquering that goal, that task, that mission that I had. Now I'm going to take that break, rest, recuperate, fill my cup. And then it's like, all right, now I'm energized like I was recently. It's like, all right, I'm looking forward to going back to work. Yeah. I'm keen. Let's go. Like, where's the next fucking lands to conquer?
That's so important too, and especially if you have like a reward in sight, because that can be the thing that can drive you as well. Yeah. In the times where you need the drive. And now, do you think more so like these mini retirement / vacations, instead of waiting until you're at the point where you feel like you're exhausted, now you're planning them ahead so you don't get to that point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like we can push through so much for so long, and that's what I've always done. And it's like, I kind of think of it as, I say this quite a bit now, is at what cost? You know, it's like, yes, I could just go nonstop for fucking ever or whatever ever it is, but at what cost? What is that taking away from me, you know? You hear a lot of people in their business life, they go so hard and become so successful, but then everything else is unsuccessful. You know, their family life, their relationships, their friendships, everything else is put to the side because they're just so single focused. And it's like, at what cost, you know? So, and your health, you know, who knows what it's doing to the end of your life too. The stress loads that you're putting on yourself, like, I was super stressed, you know, a couple of months back, leading into, this has happened twice now, big projects, finishing them off, like construction work, you know, running a team of guys, finishing off a big construction project at the same time as the Ripple Effect event, 1 day event is coming in, like starting. So there's this massive crossover where at the end of it, like a building job, it's like, all right, I've got to get all the things done. We've got to tidy up all the bits and all these things, and it becomes quite a lot. And then as we're coming into the event, it's like, all right, I've got to make all these calls. Yeah. you know, got to get all the event stuff set up and all these different things. And that crossover's happened the last 2 events. No, sorry, not 2. Number 2 and number 4. And it wore me down so much. Like, it taxed me massively to the point where, like, after the event, I was like, after the job was done, after the event was done, I'm like, I just need time to, like, I don't want to talk to anybody. Like, I just wanted to shut off from everything because it was just like, it like was killing me. Like, it was hard work. And it's like, at what cost, you know? Like, at the end of my life, what am I knocking off the end of it, you know, with being that highly strung out, that stressed? So, yeah, it's very interesting, like, reflecting now and the awareness that I'm cultivating, creating in my life around all this sort of stuff, and seeing that there's a better way to still, like, kick ass and achieve everything you want by just implementing those little bits in between, you know. It could be a day where you're like, you know, I'm just going to go to the beach, or I'm going to go to a waterfall, or go to the movies, go have a spa day, go and get a facial, like whatever it is that you enjoy, but implementing those little rewards at the end of the achievements.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like, if we have so much output, it's like, where's the input?
Yeah.
Like, a lot of energy is just going out, and out. Like, where's it coming in? And one thing, like, I especially do for myself is, like, take advantage of the moments in between. And that's even like little things of, like, just jumping on your phone quickly. That's little things of, like, just like, now we do little things to distract ourselves. Or I in the past would do things to distract myself. Now I'll make sure I utilize those times in between. Like, for an example, before this podcast, I got home, I had about 15 minutes till you were coming over. And then I was like, all right, I could just jump on my phone and scroll and check out, you know, some of the topics for tonight. Like, you know what, I'm going to do some NSDR. It's like non-sleep, deep rest, breath work. Andrew Huberman does it.
Cool.
And I did that guided, and I was just like, yes, now I feel ready. Now I feel prepared. And it gave me that, like, switch to come in the present moment. But it's because I utilized the moments in between to set me up for the next adventure, the next action item, the next mission, the next thing to conquer.
Yeah.
And it's just, I just wanted to really emphasize on how important it is to utilize the moments in between in life.
And that was a 15-minute period too.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't, you know,
it
wasn't a long
days.
time. It's like in 15 minutes you can fully change your state with something as simple as breath. Like, you know, which we both do and both know how powerful breath work is on multiple different levels. But yeah, like, I love that. That was awesome. I
love how you just said as well, change your state. When I found out personally that I could change my state, I could change my whole life. Like, if I, like, an example, if someone says something to me that I could feel emotionally reactive to it, in the past, I would stay in that emotion and, like, refeed that to myself to stay in that loop. But then now I realize if someone says something to me and I feel emotional reaction to it, I'm like, I can control whether I feel angry to this or I can accept it and forget about it.
Yeah.
And right now I'm at a point now where I'm really good at just being like, cool.
Yeah.
Next. You know, like, what's actually going to benefit me in this moment?
And it's also that you don't have to exactly deal with it or process it in the moment, but you just don't become reactive.
Yeah, it's not becoming...
It's like, oh, that really triggered me, and then you say something and blow up or whatever, but it's like, okay, like, I'm feeling a certain way about what you just said. Yeah. I'll just, you know, I can still be here with you and I'll think about it, and then maybe later, if I choose to, I can bring it up with you then, but from a calmer place where it's not, like, reactive.
It's sitting with it. And, like, I'm glad you said that, because I didn't want it to sound like I just suppress it and forget about it. Yeah. So I'm glad you touched on that deeper, because I don't want to give that message to people of just, you feel something, forget about it.
Just fucking keep following
you'll be fine.
Suck it up.
Yeah. Like, it's just more so of, like you said, it's so you can become more responsive down the line and deal with it at a later date when it's more appropriate. But I feel like it's such an important thing to be able to understand ourselves to the point where we can control our state. Yeah. Yeah. And with your, like, I want to touch back before we move on to our next topics. Back when you did the 14-hour overnight army, what was it called again? Military?
Yeah, so it's called Section.
Little
shout out to those guys, because Darren runs it, and it was epic. And I actually believe that many men should do this or something like this. It's called section assault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The reason I want to ask that, because people probably heard you saying you're getting the hose down, hitting the head with the hose, jumping in the ice bath at midnight, and they're probably like, why the fuck are you doing this? So what's the purpose and intention?
A bit of a sadist. I like the punishment. So going into this experience, you had to jump on a call and make sure that it's right that I'm the right person to do it and it feels right for them and all that as a process. It's not just like go and do it.
Yeah.
And in the call, I was saying like I want to challenge myself. So I've done on the physical side of things. I used to race motocross, just local grade, not professional or anything like that. I used to race triathlon. I've done lots of different sports and, physical and mentally tough things where the mind is like, just stop, but you keep going. Triathlon was a good one for that because that shit hurts.
Yeah.
And I was saying this to him and I was like, I want to meet my edge and see who I am at that place. Like who do I become where I'm like, I can't go anymore. I'm cold, wet, tired, hungry. We didn't eat. We got, I think, one muesli bar at whatever time it was.
Yeah.
No sleep.
Fuck, that's when you meet your deep self.
Yeah, like it was all these like, it's any one of them by itself is something, but when you've got them all on top, they had a dog there just barking at us half the night. Like it was full like, we were like walking through the bush, like deep bush in the middle of the night, carrying things, heavy things, crawling through paddocks. I'd throw like a firecracker out or something to simulate like guns. We had to drop and, all these sort of things. It was a really good experience. But it was like, who am I in that environment? And I really wanted to see. And I didn't quite get to the full physical exertion in this experience this time, which maybe I should have gone a bit harder. But I saw things in myself of like who I become when I was in those situations and the leader I am or the leader that I show up as. And there's definitely showed me things that I want to work on and can work on because I want to become better. Yeah. And I said I want to come back and do it again, or, might have a 24 or 36 hour one in the future. I'm like, dude,
yeah,
I'm keen.
Fuck
like,
yeah.
I also I loved it.
Yeah.
Good. In the moment, not so much. You're like, I could be home, warm, I'm shivering, I'm wet, like all these things, but I was never going to give up.
Yeah.
And like, I actually love that stuff.
That comes back to conquering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, you aren't going to beat me.
Yeah.
Like, and that's not really saying them, it's more me is not going to beat me, or however that wording works. But like, my mind is not going to take it. Like, I'm not going to give in, I'm stronger than whatever factors out there are telling me to just go home. Because we had the option too. We had the option to go home. If you wanted to, you had to sign a bit of paper and you could go home and get warm and dry and all the nice cozy things.
I feel like that's probably one of the biggest challenges in the whole experience. You probably correct me if I'm wrong, but knowing you have the idea of tapping out, and like trying to face that while you're going through all of this, all these challenges, like knowing that you have the option to tap out would just be such a mental fuck as well.
Yeah, it is in a way. Like, there's the options there, right? Yeah. It was like we had to bring some food, and then knowing we had food on us the whole time, but we didn't get to eat it.
Yeah,
it was kind of like, fuck, like it's just there, like it's in my backpack, right there.
You feel like they gave you more empowerment, though, knowing the options there, but not doing it anyway.
Yeah, and it's self-control, for one, and integrity is a big piece for myself and for them too. And it's like, when they're not there and in the little tiny breaks we get, it's like, oh, you could just sneak some food. But that's not integral.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm here to do what the task is, the mission is. And if sneaking food is not a part of the assigned task.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do it to the best of my ability with how it's set out to be done. So, yeah.
What do you think you learned about the human potential?
That you can keep going. Like like I said, for me, I didn't quite get to my full physical exertion. There was times where I'm like, man, this is hard. Like, I didn't just cruise through this by any means at all. We had to push some big ass rope up a hill, crawl it up a hill, and I was like, this is heavy and hard, and it fucking hurts.
Yeah.
But I saw in some of the other guys that were at that edge, you know, they were like fully just exhausted, cooked, and they just kept going.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, like, hell yeah. Like, you know, I love that. Like, massive respect. It's like, because it was hard.
Yeah.
It was very hard. And to see them pushing through, and like, that's why I said I'd like to come back and do it again, where I can push harder and meet that edge in myself. Because there is where you just want to give up and stop, and it's so easy, right?
Yeah.
Like, all I had to do was pull the paper out of my pocket and sign it.
Yeah.
How easy is that? I could go home. I could have all the comforts and, you know, go home to Beck, and she'd make me hot chocolate or something.
Get a Krispy Kreme in the home, whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. But it was like, there's no fucking way I'm doing that, because then who am I? Who am I if I give in through something that's only 14 hours?
Yeah.
You know, like,
that's the thing. It would have been so easy to be like tap out halfway and be like, oh, at least you did 7 hours, you know?
Yeah.
Give myself a pat on the back. But being able to push that limit and truly test yourself is an experience which, you know.
And that was a big thing too, is that we would just like, or even myself, I'm like, oh, well, we get to go home soon, you know? Like, whatever the time frame is, we go home after this. Yeah. And it made me I've always had a big respect for people in the military, because I you know, all the things that from the limited stuff I know of what they do and what they see and go through, and the training, I've always been really attracted to it, to the training, and that's why I love this experience. But I was like, I've got a whole nother level, because we did it for 14 hours. Yeah. You know, they're doing it in their training for like days on end, weeks, months, years, whatever. And then when you're actually deployed, it's like, it's a whole nother game. Like, you know, you're doing this stuff where you're out in the bush, but people are probably trying to kill you at the same time. Yeah. Like, we were just getting sprayed with water. Do you know what I mean? Like, we were never in any risk.
Yeah.
There was, you know, so it was crazy just to think like what you can see come up in yourself in a controlled environment like that. But just massive, showed me so much more respect for the people out there that are doing this on such a different level. It's
like a lot of respect and admiration, but then reflecting that back of in yourself, it's like, it shows you what you can be more capable of as well. Knowing that there's other people out here doing it more extreme, and helps you be like, I can reach that level too.
Yeah, if they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah. Do you feel like this experience helped you understand like a deeper meaning of brotherhood?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, it brings you together. Like, we had to do team tasks. And a lot of it was team. Apart from the PT stuff, everything was as a team. And we, you know, you bond because you're in it together. And we didn't know each other before this. We got thrown into this, and you're like, carry this dude on a soft stretcher around this massive course was the first thing. It's like, how do we work together, for one? Like, I don't know anyone's strengths. I don't even know their names, all this sort of stuff. And it's like, yeah, it brings you together in certain ways, for sure. Yeah.
And saying that as well, because something I'm passionate about is having, like, for men specifically, to have good men around them. Like, could you touch on the importance you feel of how important it is for men to have a good circle of other men around them?
Yeah. Like, this is some things that I'm learning more and more and seeing and wanting in myself. And like, I believe it's everything, right? Going back to how, I don't know, like, you know, with my events, how I have this tribal theme with it all, and I have this primal stuff, and it's always something that's there with me. There's this ancestral kind of thing, and I don't really know what it is, where it came from, all the stuff. Like, it's just like a channel, I suppose. But it's like how I envisioned that we were back in the day, and you know, the men would collect around the fire at the end of the night after the hunt, and tell stories, and that would be the time when they got to open up and express. And I imagine, you know, I wasn't there, so I don't know, maybe in past lives, but it was, you know, they got to talk about the things they were connected. and they spent that time together on like a deep level. Like, what do we do now? Men go to the pub and drink some piss and watch the footy or you know, whatever it is. Like, they're not connected. They're, you know, not properly. So I think it's everything to have a good group of men around you, and like actively, if you don't have guys, men, this is for the men, if you don't have men in your life that you look up to, like, seek them out. There is so many groups out there now, men's groups, you know, of all different calibers, all different ages, all different locations, doing all different things. There's something for everybody, and it could be as simple as going to a men's fire circle that, like, I think there's one on the sunny coast that's free.
Yeah.
He does it weekly or something like that. But it's like, dude, like, what do you have to lose for one, and what do you have to gain?
Yeah.
Like,
it's being able to put yourself out there.
yeah.
And, you know, it's going to be uncomfortable to begin with. Like, when I first started going to, like, personal development things and, like, you know, all these events and whatnot, like, I did all that by just without knowing anyone and just starting it by myself at the beginning. And now, like, 3 years later, the amount of networking I've made just by going to these different events and meeting different people and making connections.
That's how we met.
Yeah, that's how we met, exactly. Yeah, at the Cool to Be Conscious full-day event.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, well, like 2 years later, here we are doing the second podcast.
Yeah.
You know, and like the amount of things we've done in between that time as well individually.
Dude, exactly.
And it's like that all came from you showing up that day, me showing up that day, and seeing where the path takes us and continue that growth, continue making those connections.
Yeah.
And it's, it kind of be
the connections, right? And like that's exactly it. And that was the big thing for me is I did so much by myself. And I realized that I need people, men and women around me, and have that connection. But more so now is realize I need like men around, good men doing masculine shit. I'm a very masculine man. And it's like, you know, having the right people around you that fit for who you are and who you want to be, and people that you see, I'm going to say the words above you, not in the sense of any other reason, of just someone that you want to achieve to become, you know, that you want to strive. Just like, oh, like I really like how that guy, you know, is with his family, or, you know, career-wise, or any of those things, you know, fitness level, whatever it is. It's like, oh, I want to be like that. So it's getting around people that are at a higher caliber than you in what you want to do, you know, and that's a big part of my life now, is surrounding myself with the right people, you know, people that are doing way more, way bigger, way crazier shit than me. I'm like, fuck yeah, like this excites me. It inspires me to push more and keep going. And, you know, if you hang around, like the saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Yeah. Like if all your friends just go out and drink and party, well, you're most likely going to end up party. You're not going to be the person who's doing something different because all your friends are calling you to do that. Yeah. So if you hang around, if you want to get fit, go hang out with fit people. If you want to get rich, go hang out with rich people. Like it's pretty basic and simple. And I saw, it might have been TikTok or something like that, but there was a study done where if you sit within X amount of feet of a high achiever, you become, like, over a period of time, you become like 30% better or like more productive. But if a high achiever sits, I think it was 15% better, and if a high achiever sits within a certain range of a low achiever, they become 30% less productive. So it was like, holy shit.
Makes
like,
sense.
you know, if you know, hang around people that are doing things that you don't want to do, like you're going to get pulled down to that level.
And there's another, it makes so much sense because that relates to this other study that I was reading into, and it showed that when you're in a room within a 20-foot radius, people's DNA and genetics end up sharing. And when people's DNA connects in this study, what they saw was that people's blood pressure ended up matching within everyone within the 20-foot radius.
Co-regulation.
Yeah, exactly. And the heart rate ended up going to the same speed of every single person in this same room. That just shows like how important it is to surround yourself with people that not just hold you to a higher standard, but then are also there for you as well when you do need times to be in solitude and become more solution minded, or just to be able to express yourself, or have people that are there to hold you to a higher standard to achieve more and do more and push you. And yeah, it's so important having a good environment around you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's one of the most important things.
Yeah, and like for the men out there listening as well, because I know there's a lot of men out there that I believe me and you are in this similar spot as well. So I feel like we could probably speak about experience here. Is that we have this wall up that we have like a deep knowing that we want to connect with other men, but this wall's up in our mind that we may think we can't connect with other people. We don't know how to do it. What if this happens? Oh, that doesn't seem like it's right for me. What advice do you feel like you have, or what can you share from your own experience to help you drop that wall to actually be able to go to things that like these events to connect with other people?
Yeah, it's a good one. I think it's like anything. It's taking the first step. You know, it might feel uncomfortable, and sometimes the connection of a man to a man in this day and age feels very odd or off, or you know, it's an uncomfortable feeling. Like many men, you know, like us, I walked in the door, first thing we did, hugged each other.
Yeah.
You know, straight up, and like I hug all my mates. And it's leaning into that. And like you said, I think the key was like stepping into the spaces where this is normal, you know, men's workspaces, men's retreats, mixed events as well, because it's all like in this field, it's all going to cultivate that regardless. It doesn't have to be men's specific events or workshops or any of this, but like if it's men's specific, then obviously it's just going to be a little bit more directed for that. But yeah, I think it's just taking that first uncomfortable step.
Yeah.
And yeah, like go hug your mate.
Yeah.
Like start there. Like that's simple, costs you nothing.
Yeah.
And be like, dude, give us a hug.
Yeah. One thing I say to myself is just a fuck it moment.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when you just think, you're like, you have that doubt and just, no, fuck it, I'm going to do it. And you go do it anyway. You know, that's what it definitely was for me. Like, especially like the hugging men and connecting with men in that way. Before 2020, I never did that at all.
Yeah.
Like it was very much like shakes, firm hand. Like I still do that, like depending on environments and things like that. But with friends and people I'm close with or people I want to connect with, it's actually making it open and seem very lighthearted and welcoming as well. You know, I think that's important. And going back to what I was saying before about when I first started going to events, it was just that fucking moment and just trusting whatever the process was going to be and just showing up and see what happens. You know, I may go and I may love it. I may go and I may hate it. And it's like, well, I don't know if I don't go.
Yeah.
You know,
and if you hate it, then cool, right? Like, don't go again.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what am I going to gain by not going and staying at home?
Yeah.
You know, or not going and going to the pub instead. Like, there's plenty of nights to go to the pub.
Yeah.
You know, but there's not plenty of nights to go and do these things and get these experiences. But once you get into this world, there is plenty of nights and plenty of experiences because more doors will open up to go into more of these places and connect with more people.
And there's so much to do.
Yeah.
Like so many, like I said, there's so many different offerings and spaces and different adventures and all this cool shit. Like it's not just, you know, weird woo-woo kind of, like it's not all talk about your feelings and cry. Like that happens and it's actually awesome, but it's not all like that. Like for the men out there that are more on the, what side am I thinking? But the ones that, you know, think, oh, I don't want to go into that and be hugging dudes and talking about my feelings and all this stuff. Like you can go to so many of these things and not even say a word. Yeah. Like you can go and listen to other people, you know? And if, like I said, if you don't like it, just don't go again.
Yeah, exactly.
Or if it feels weird and uncomfortable and you're like, I don't want to go again, think about that. Why do you not want to go again? Is it because it feels weird and uncomfortable and there's a little bit of you that might be deep down like, I really wanted to say something. I had this feeling, this emotion come up in my body and I wanted to get up and say what I felt, but I, was scared or it just didn't feel right. Like, there's something there for you, So listen in, pay attention to it, and maybe next time it feels right.
Yeah, and I like how you said, like, it's not always, like, screaming and crying, because personally I've had friends and men in my life, like, they see me go to these events and, like, there's somewhat one foot in, one foot out about coming, but then they see the promo videos of it just men screaming at each other and crying, and straight away they're turned off because, like, I don't want to go to that. Like, I want to go and have a good experience and fun, and it can kind of be, like, counterproductive of what the whole purpose of it is. And I liked how you touched on that because, like, you may see it in the advertisements for these events, but it's not like the whole thing is just screaming, getting all that out. And like you said, you can always just be like a fly on the wall in certain parts of these events. Like, sometimes you can go and not even talk to people. Yeah. But I just want to touch on that because, a lot of the advertisement is that I see, but don't let that be something that turns you off either. Yeah.
I mean, like, I've started doing just men's hikes.
Yeah.
So, we went and hiked beer bars, a couple of us that went up, and it's like so casual. We just hiked together, talk, did a little bit of breath work at the top and opened the space for anyone to share anything that they wanted to, if there was something coming up for them, whether that's relationship, business, just anything, like general whatever. You could, it was at like no like set criteria of anything. It was just like, cool, we're just coming to hang out and talk. And it was like such a good entry level too. And some of the guys that were there are not entry level at all in the world of this sort of stuff. But it's like, man, we just had fun.
Yeah.
So we went and hiked and did some cool shit.
Yeah.
And, it's got some sun, some fitness, got sweaty.
Yeah.
A little bit of friendly competition.
Yeah. Competition's good, I find. Yeah. I think competition is really important, like healthy competition that's going to help each other grow. But the reason I love that you said the hike and then you get to the top and then you talk, it relates back to like the tribe of what you were saying earlier. Like throughout the day, thousands of years ago, we'll go and hunt for the day. We'll come back to the fire and we'll share stories. It's similar to that. And I feel like men do that anyway, like you said earlier as well. Like we go to work for the day, we conquer work, whatever that looks like. Then we go to the pub. Then it's just finding a different way to actually have that same experience, but do it in a way where it's actually more beneficial.
Yeah, exactly. Like collect around the fire instead of around the bar. And that could be a fire pit in your backyard, like think about when you go camping.
Yeah.
What do? Everyone sits around the fire and talks. Generally in the Australian culture, there's 3 cases of beer next to you, but try doing it without the beer or limited. And I was listening to a podcast yesterday and it was Sacred Sons actually. And they had someone on who's talking about the art of storytelling and how, everyone, it used to be such big in the culture. They'd talk about sitting around telling stories by the campfire or whatever it may be. And he's saying like, don't lose that tradition. Don't stop that. Like, for fathers, read bedtime stories to your kids, or when you're walking through the park or wherever it may be, like tell them stories, and they don't have to be this crazy thing. Like, it could be anything, like telling the Rumpelstiltskin story or, like it doesn't matter. It's just the art of storytelling, and it's almost like a lost art now because we don't do those things.
And I feel like our brain is still inclined to attach the stories because through so many generations, that's how we shared information to survive.
Yes.
Was through stories. And I don't feel like we've lost that. I feel like that's why we're so interested in the stories. I heard a comedian, Andrew Schultz, talk about this, and he says one of the most important things a comedian can do is share stories. That's why people are so engaged with comedians, because most of their job is sharing stories that are engaging and fun. And that's why they get big crowds, is because of that reason specifically, is storytelling.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%, man.
And like, especially the whole thing about sitting around the fire, like reflecting on my life, like sometimes I just crave sitting around the fire and talking to people. And like, I don't know what it is. I could say I do know what it is because it's probably that innate feeling to do it. But some of your best conversations is when you're in an environment that's tapped out of what modern reality is, and just being able to connect with other humans. Like, it's such a crucial factor to just even our well-being in general.
Yeah. And you almost feel like you're in your own little portal too. Like,
Yeah.
like, you know, when you stare into the flames and you just fixated on the flame, you know, or the bit of wood that's burning, and you're just like hypnotized. And it's like nothing else is around you. It's like you can be talking to your mates, but you feel like you're in your own space, and it's like it opens up this sacredness of the conversation where you feel really, for me personally, like you feel this sense of like safety to express, because you feel like there's nothing else around you. This is like you're in your own container. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you feel like this is what pushed you also to be able to want to do like specifically men's retreats? What was the motivation behind that?
Man, it's actually quite funny. Like when I started Ripple and started in this space and doing this work, you know, I heard people doing men's work and saw it, and I was like, I have no desire to do men's work. It was actually really strange. And I've always I grew up with my mum and two sisters till I was about 14. So I've always found it really easy to like have conversations with women and stuff like that. And I'd done some work with women in that space through that time period. And I was like, oh, like I'd prefer to work with women. I don't know why. And then in the last 6 months to a year, it's kind of been dropping in a little bit, like trickling in, just like sprinkles on the top, like more to do with the men and the men's space. And it's been an interesting ride. And a large thing for me for getting into it is seeing the men, how they're showing up these days. And a big thing I'm seeing is that a lot of men don't feel, from what I see and what I feel about it, my perception of it is that they are not confident in their own feet, like with making decisions. You know, they're kind of half in, half out with a decision, you know.
Indecisive.
Yeah, like, you know, it's we rely on our women so much now to make the decisions. And I don't know if anyone's like aware of that scenario, but when our women just want us to make the decisions and they want to be able to, you know, I'm going to say follow along with it to an extent.
Yeah.
It's not blindly following everything we do or say, but it's been decisive and being like, yeah, we're doing this, like, cool. And it's like being able to stand strong in that decision and show up in it and be leaders. You know, we're all a leader in some way. Some are just leader of more people in bigger spaces and bigger things, you know, whether it's work or otherwise. But like if you're, you know, in a relationship, you're a leader.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you've got kids, then you fucking definitely like you need to step the fuck up and be a leader, because they're watching everything you do.
And I feel like that adds another layer of respect for the men when he's more decisive. And that's something
100%,
that's definitely something I'm conscious of. Like even things of like, what are we having for dinner? I don't know. What do you want? I don't know. What do you want? I don't know. Now it's just like, what do you want? Don't know. We're having this. Like just being decisive, like with even little things with dinner. Because I feel like women and like over time can slow down, lose trust for a man when he's indecisive, because he doesn't even know what he wants.
Yeah, like how does she trust him when he doesn't trust himself? Yeah.
And I feel like an important piece of men is like going back to the dinner part. Like next time you have that thing with your missus or your boyfriend and you're like, I don't know. Just be more decisive. Like, cool, we're having this.
Yeah.
Just be decisive, but make that relate with a lot of other things in your life as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was like, that has been a big thing for me, showing up or being shown to me. In myself too, like this is not me going, oh, look at everybody else. It's like looking in the mirror, going, where the fuck am I not doing this, or where am I doing this? You know, being indecisive, and there's been so many times, right? And I catch myself sometimes. I'm like, oh, I said, I don't know. Beck's like, what do you want for dinner? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, actually, I want steak, potatoes, broccoli, whatever that is. And she's like, cool, on it. Like,
Yeah.
And she loves it like that.
Just being able to call yourself out too, because, like, we're all human. We're not going to be 100% correct all the time. It's like, in the moment, it's just being able to switch, like, oh, no, wait, bang.
Yeah. But yeah, so seeing that, wanting to cultivate that in men, show them who they are, who they can be, how powerful they can be, and really getting men back into a masculine presence. Like, we need polarity in life, and especially in our relationships, whether that's straight or gay or otherwise, there still has to be a level of polarity. So if you're not being the masculine man and you're not making decisions and you don't know what to do and all these different things, then that means that your woman is becoming more masculine and you're becoming more feminine. So it's like, all right, well, and this, you see it all the time. You see the guy that walks around who's like, yes, okay, like, I'll follow you, do whatever. It's like, fuck, man. And it works for some people. Like, there's no right or wrong with it. But for me, I'm a masculine male. And I know that many of the men that are in my spaces are masculine men too. And some just need a little help. Like, I've had a guy reach out not long ago. He's like, no, I want help. I need help to get my masculinity back and be more of a masculine man and all that stuff. I was like, dude, cool. Like, let's work on that. That's awesome. Like, being able to see that. But so like, through the work I'm doing, through the men's retreat, it's I want to I don't know if I want to show is the right word, but I want to open up the space for them to see themselves in the masculine, in like the deep, like the primal fucking masculine. Like, that's what I like, the primal shit. Like, like, be a fucking animal.
The good shit.
Yeah, like, that's a big part of my life, is being a fucking animal. Like, that's what I am at my core. I'm not a civilized, domesticated house cat. Like, I'm a fucking wild dog or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's who I want to be, and that's who I want to almost cultivate in other men, that they can have that. They can be that.
Yeah, that's important too, because one thing Jordan Peterson says, like, he has that monster quote that a lot of people are probably familiar with. But another thing that he says as well is that men are more dangerous when they don't have that within them, when they don't have like that beast within inside them that they control. If you have a man that has that ability to be able to do that, but then can sit with it and not express it and knows how to use that energy, that's when he's full embodied in the masculine. Exactly.
Being fucking dangerous. But then what does he say? A weak man is not a good man.
Yeah.
A very dangerous man that has it under voluntary control is a good man.
Yeah.
Because you have the option to cause harm.
Yeah.
And you choose not to. So that makes you good.
Because it shows you got a lot of self-control as well, and discipline, which is a big thing. And I feel like as a man, when you go into a room, you can feel that immediately. Like, if you walk into a room and you know you're with a bunch of savages, for some reason, like, you feel safe. When you feel good. It feels
good, man. Good. Like, you walk in the room, you're like, every motherfucker in here, like, could rip someone's head off. Like, and it's that fire energy where you're just like, I don't know. I love it. Yeah.
Like, it's such a fucking good feeling. Like, I feel like men need to seek that more. That's why I like the men's retreat that you're doing, because men are getting more tapped into that and more reflecting back within themselves of that masculinity that they have within them. And I guess the question I'm coming to with this is, what do we think in the modern era is taking masculinity away from men? The only reason I'm asking this is just so we can be more aware of the things we're doing on a day-to-day basis that may be pushing us away from our true self. I'm going to throw one out there first of all. I think pornography is a big one that takes away our masculine urge and instead depletes us. But I do believe there's many factors in the world that contribute to it.
Yeah. So what was the question? What takes away our masculinity?
Yeah, what's some things day to day or in the modern world that suppresses or removes our masculine?
It's the distractions.
Yeah.
Fucking TikTok. Like, and I actually just deleted it like a week ago because I was like, I sit here and just look at shit.
Yeah.
And there's some good things on there, don't get me wrong, some informational stuff, but like who spends all their time researching on TikTok? Like, you're probably not doing that, right? Like, it's the distractions, the things that we occupy our time with that is taking away from everything else. You know, talking about the men needing the mission, the goal, the achievement, something to conquer. It's like, if you take away from what our core is by distracting, you know, if you you're meant to go for the 5K run, but you spend 2 hours scrolling on social media or TikTok or porn, like, you're not conquering fucking anything. Yeah. And, you know, porn's always a good one, and a lot of people talk about it. Like, it's and we've all done it as a man, where you're like, I'm bored, I'm going to watch porn.
100%.
To just kill some time and, like, get a fucking feeling. And then afterwards you're like, the fuck did I do that for? Kind of thing.
Now?
Like, you're like, oh, that didn't feel as good anyway. And all these different things. You're like, you know, fuck, like, what purpose did that serve? Really, it killed like 5 minutes.
Yeah, literally. But
like,
it takes so
and
much
that's
energy.
4 minutes looking for the right video. So, yeah, like, so many people talk about the porn thing, so I'm probably not going to go into it because they've got so much more knowledge around it than I would. But that's definitely a big one, and I think just the distractions and there's probably a lot of other things. Like, just our whole society now is aimed to squash masculinity. Yeah. It's, you know, the word toxic masculinity is like every fucking where. Yeah. You know, it's like if any man shows any ounce of a masculine presence, they're labeled toxic.
Well, what's some of the first things people say when they see a successful person? When they see a super ripped person in the gym?
Ego.
Like, he's toxic. He's got an ego.
Fucking ego. And that whole ego thing pisses me off too, because I'm like, I have a fucking ego and I love it.
Yeah, it's good.
I think it's, you know, everyone's like ego deaths and it's ego's the enemy, and it is to an extent and to certain things, but I believe that having an ego is great in so many other ways. Like, you know, doing a sport or something, like if you had no ego to win, no desire, like, you just, what's the fucking point?
Yeah, and it's like, if you have no self-ego, where else are you going to get your self-belief from?
Yeah.
Like, I don't need, but I use my ego sometimes to have that self-belief in myself, to have that moment, like I mentioned earlier, like, that fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, and like, exactly, it's like the, you know, using the fitness or the gym example too, it's like, I can lift that. Yeah. It's like, that dude's lifting that. I can fucking lift that. That's my ego talking, like, maybe I can't, but I'm going to try anyway. Yeah. Like,
literally.
Yeah.
And it's like going back as well to the distractions. That's such an, because I like how you said distractions, because there's like a million things that we could name, but like just distractions in general, because I feel like in today's world, there's so much easy access to dopamine. So what's happening is our baseline of dopamine is so high, so we have to go to more extreme lengths to be able to reach that dopamine. And I had a cognitive neuroscientist come on the podcast, and he was talking about dopamine and why we have to do extreme things and etc. And one thing he talked about is that now when we jump on social media, is that we're not even getting the dopamine hit straight away, because we're so adapted to it, and that's why we stay on it for longer, because we're in search of that dopamine hit that the phone usually gives us. But that can go to like anything in life, you know, with all the distractions that give us that dopamine. So I think another way we can embody masculinity back into our life, which I want to get to now, just to help people with some actionable tools to build more masculinity and strip back the distractions, is find ways to get your dopamine baseline back to a level, back to a normal level. Because the reason I say that is because I believe men, we work hard for reward. You know, we work hard for reward. We go out and hunt for the day, so we have food at the end of the day for the tribe. And if we're getting easy access to dopamine, and that's the reward, and it's so easy accessible, like, what motivation or what drive or what energy do we have for any other thing in life, or a mission or a purpose? So I feel like if we drop our baseline of dopamine and we actually do things that takes a bit of conquest to get the reward of
Takes
dopamine.
more than 30 seconds to scroll through something.
Exactly, like doing a 14-hour overnight thing, like you said before, that gives you the reward of dopamine. Going to a men's retreat, you know, getting that dopamine. Doing a hike, get that dopamine. Doing an ice bath, but doing things that are a lot more challenging.
Challenge is the word that was coming up for sure. Like, as men, we need challenge. For instance, I recently started doing jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Fuck, man. So fun. So sick and so challenging and so humbling, you know? Like, doing stuff like that, it's like, I think to get a black belt is average around 10 years.
Yeah.
Like, you don't just go and succeed in this sport overnight.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, every time I go there, I leave there like feeling so good. I mean, I might be a bit sore because I had some dude trying to choke me out. It's like the dopamine hit is epic. You're just like, man, fuck, like, you know, and you get a little better each time. Like, you know, it's like they try to choke you out and you can get out of it, and then you're like trying to choke them out, and it's this back and forth. And doing things like that, you know, like climbing a mountain, start with a small one where your maybe fitness level or capability is at, go bigger and bigger and bigger. Like I want to start doing some big hikes, some multi-day hikes. I went for a hike with a guy the other day who's done Kilimanjaro, and I was like, dude, that sounds sick. I'm like, started looking into it. I'm like, I'm going to do this. I think it's like 6 days or something, you know, pretty big, pretty intense. And he's going to his next conquest would be, I think he said he's going to go look at doing base camp, Everest base camp.
Okay.
I'm like, dude, that's sick. Like, going out and doing things that take more than opening your phone and looking at, you know, do I want to speak on it? A big thing I see now, you open your phone, and as a man, whether you follow or not, so much you see is just almost naked girls. Like, so I smile. I'm like, do I speak on this or not? I'm like, you know, fuck it, I'm going to.
I'll happily speak on it because it's something I'm passionate about is soft porn. I'll let you finish what you were saying before I get into it. But
it desensitizes you for one, where you see it's like, I've had guys work for me, tradies, and I'll see them at Smoko scrolling, and it's just like girl, 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 girl. And like, they're younger and stuff, and I get it to an extent. But it's just like, man, you know, like, it's all you see.
Yeah, you can't escape
it. And exactly. Like, it comes up as like suggested things and all this stuff. And like that there, like, and I believe that takes away your masculinity for one.
Literally.
Because you lose your self-control because you keep looking, you keep going back to it.
Given the urges.
Yeah. But it's just like, I don't know. It's just the whole thing of like, you open your phone. It's like, oh, I'm going to go climb a mountain. And then you're like, oh no, I'm going to stand here for 20 minutes and scroll through this. And like, I open my phone and scroll. Like, I'm not better than anybody else. Like, I do it for sure. But even like my personal Instagram page, I follow like 35 people, and most of them are business or fitness or you know, in this sort of space where it's like things I actually want to see and bring value to me. I don't just have random crap there to limit my scrolling, you know. I don't know where I was going with all that.
I'm on the same page with you, brother. Like, I go on, like, because my OneTalk page is like separate. I don't go on my personal page at all anymore unless I get a message. My OneTalk page, like, I don't like any soft porn or any exposure of like body parts. So, but it's still on my algorithm. Like, you go on the explore page on Instagram for an example, and like 4 videos out of like the 12 there, it's like chicks and like basically wearing nothing with the tits out and all that. And I'm like, it's just, it irritates me a lot because I know I used to be a person that would give into that.
Yeah,
And
same, 100%.
And I know that is doing that to. It's also doing that to a lot of men as well. It's taking away their energy, it's taking away their drive. It's also making them fantasize about things that can be harmful in the world. I feel like if we constantly sexualize women in that sense, it's only going to be a dangerous game. And I feel like a lot more crime is going to happen if sexualization of women keeps getting pushed in the media. And I know this is more of an extreme example, but I was listening to Ted Bundy, so I'm going full extreme. Yeah. He said he had a porn addiction, and a lot of his tendencies came from being addicted to porn. And his dopamine baseline got so high, he needed more extreme things. And that's when all the craziness began.
That's when you go to extreme levels to get that hit.
Exactly right. And that's why I feel that the overexposure of sexualization of women is such a dangerous thing, especially for men, because it ruins your self-control, it ruins your self-discipline, and it strips your masculinity. And that, what we were saying before, is that a safe man is a man who's strong within himself, who has that beast, and is a masculine in essence. But a weak man who has all that stripped, has no emotional control. Yeah, I feel like that's a dangerous game.
Like 100%, man. I think like the biggest thing is the discipline, like you said, and it's going out there and doing things that create discipline. Yeah. So like I said, you know, the jiu-jitsu, that's like a discipline. You know, like any martial art is a discipline. Yeah. It's not mastering it. It's the what is it? It's the achievement of trying to master it, or on the path of trying to master something, you know. And like I said to you earlier, like I'm going to do my gun safety course so I can get my gun license. I'm going to start shooting, target shooting, and then go hunting and stuff like that. It's like that's another discipline sitting there. I've got this. I'm attracted to like long range shooting where it's just calm. Yeah, like squeeze the trigger,
focus on the breath, slow things.
Yeah, down. Like I don't know why. Just it's just something I want to do is get good at shooting long distance. So it's a discipline. It's going to take time. It's going to take effort. It's going to take consistency. Yeah, it's like it takes energy to do this shit, as opposed to just opening up your phone, doing this, or going to the pub, doing all these other little things. And you know, like another thing I want to do is I want to do a 100K trail race. Fuck yeah. It's like it takes time, takes effort, takes discipline to get up and fucking run and keep running and do all these things, you know, like all these things. It's like finding something that you like, whatever that is, that's going to take time to achieve it. Yeah. You know, like you can't do it in a week. Yeah. Like, you know, like the mountain climbing stuff. Find a mountain, cool, climb that one. Fuck yeah, you've achieved that. You've conquered that mountain. Find a bigger one. Find a bigger one. Go on a longer hike. Start doing overnight hikes. You know, like it's pushing the bar. Like it's this whole thing that I believe that men need is we need to, like I said at the very beginning, we need to have a mission. We need to be pushing and striving towards something, because if we're not, we go a little bit stagnant, and then we open up the phone and then we scroll, and then we're just like being distracted. Yeah.
And I feel like as men too, we're seeking rewards, and these distractions give us the reward of, you know, all these neurochemicals.
Short-term, instant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the best reward that we can have, and we truly feel it and we know it when we feel it, is progressive reward. When we're actually progressing at a task. Yeah. Like for an example, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I guarantee like every 4 weeks you reflect on where you were 4 weeks ago to now and be like, I fucking progressed. Oh man. Like the feeling that will give you inside is something that you can't really explain.
I haven't progressed very much. Yeah. I'm like 4 or 5 weeks in, white belt. I just go in there and get my ass handed to me by everybody, but it's fun. Yeah. And there is progression though. That's the main thing, is there is progression. And it's like you said, you know, it's pushing towards something, striving.
Yeah, but you're also building progression in character by showing up.
Yeah. Yeah. There's times I'm like, oh, fuck, I don't want to go. And I'm tired, or my neck's a little sore still, whatever it is, and you just go, right? Or like sometimes I'm like, I think it was yesterday, I was like, I'm not up for the intensity of jiu-jitsu tonight, so I went to the gym. Yeah. Like I still did something. I didn't sit on the couch. And I've got back into reading because I was like, man, I go through waves and stages, you know, like we all do. And I used to be like, only ever took in like information that was around business, investing, finance, like pushing towards that. And then I go through this part where you're like, I just want to like just go to bed and like put a movie on or something. And you don't really watch it anyway. But
Yeah.
so now I've turned the TV off, unplugged it from the wall in my bedroom. Never been much of a fan for TVs in the room, but I have one anyway at the current time. But yeah, just reading it. And I'm reading Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules of Life.
Oh, nice.
It's been on the bedstand about half read for 6 months. I'm like, I'm going to finish this fucking book.
It's about time.
So yeah. But now I'm like, I've done it 3 nights in a row now, so it's super fresh. And it's like, yeah, this is the new routine, and it feels good. It's like, all right, and if you read before you go to bed so much better than if you're watching TV or on your phone. And another one is like, set a time where, whatever time that is for you, that's an hour or 2 hours before you go to bed, and that's no phone time. Like, phones are down. Doesn't matter what happens.
Yeah.
Like, don't pick it up just to check Instagram once more in case someone liked your photo.
Yeah.
Which I'm guilty of. Like, I've done it. But it's like, say 7 o'clock. It's like, phone goes in the drawer. Don't leave your phone next to your bed.
No, and there is, like, at the start, like, there will be a lot of resistance in that because it's change,
It's habit.
But it's like, it's changing the way you view the resistance and the challenges. That's what I found within myself is like, if I see something that is a resistance, let's just say an example, if I stop using my phone at night and I feel resistant of sitting there and reading, I really want to go to my phone. In my mind, I don't tell myself like, fuck, I want to read my phone. I'll tell myself like, cool, this is something I can overcome.
Yeah.
Like, this is a challenge. Like, I thrive. Like, now I'm at a point where I thrive off challenges. So I love that feeling of knowing something's tough and having the opportunity to overcome it. But it took years to be able to get here. But I still have, like, I'm fucking human. I have moments where I'm like, get me phone anyway. But it's making sure that it's probably 90% of the time that I'm like, no, I'm doing this. This is it. I'm overcoming it. And trying not to give in to urges and temptations.
The early morning ice bath situation.
Yeah, literally.
It's cold, it's dark. I don't want to do this. I'm going to do it anyway.
100%.
Yeah.
Wicked, brother. Should we because I feel like all the topics I've written down we've already somewhat touched on. Do you feel like you have much more else you want to?
Don't know. I think just for the men, like, go out there and do some fucking manly shit.
Yeah.
I've had this call lately to just go chop wood.
Fuck yeah.
Like, I just want to, just split wood until my arms are fucking sore. Like,
Yeah.
do manly shit if you want to be a masculine man. Like, it's pretty simple, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and just tap back into yourself.
Yeah.
Tap
Go
into that
fucking
tribal
primal.
side of yourself.
Just be primal.
Yeah.
That's a big thing, and more things I'll be bringing out in the future and cultivating is going to be around this primal stuff, getting back to nature, back to basics, being fucking animals, wild animals, man.
Yeah. Do you have a men's retreat coming up?
Yes, I do. At the end of July, so Friday the 28th of July to Sunday 30th of July. It's out on a 200-acre property near Kenilworth. We got 10 men capacity, got a couple of spaces left, and there's 4 amazing facilitators, including myself. Going to be running through a whole bunch of different processes. One of them is going to be at Temescal, which is a Aztec tradition sweat lodge, which is epic.
Yeah.
Super powerful, super intense, and like challenging. Really tests your mind, body, spirit, all of it, man. You're like lying in the dirt and the mud, sweating.
Epic.
Yeah, like fucking let me out.
Going deep.
It's cool. We're going to be doing a lot of primal movement. We're going to be doing some fun primal movement shit, which I'm not sharing yet, but it's going to be cool. We're going to be playing with fire, the heat, the sweat, cold, some breath work. We're going to be diving into people's live situations, uncovering the things that are holding them back, allowing them to see who they want to become. So then we can then work on that and bring that to light and bring that to fruition.
Yeah.
Just trying to build leaders.
I love that.
It's a big one. Just building like leaders within the community, within the men and in themselves.
I think that's important today as well. It's always been important, but specifically in today's world, building leaders.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. I'll link in everything for Ripp, like all the socials, even the I'll chuck in the link for this event as well. That's coming up, this retreat. But I'll say thank you for jumping on, man.
Yeah, thank you, brother. It was awesome.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Cheers.